So let me just start off by saying this is a forum podcast. I don't know what we're going to call it. But we haven't decided what we're going to call it yet. But in the spirit of just getting things going, we decided that, we're going to start recording these podcasts. And this podcast, we want to focus more on stuff to do with more kind of like African Ghanaian issues or topics or subject matters. And I think when we talk about Ghanaians, I think a lot of things that don't get discussed enough is what it's like growing up as a Ghanaian abroad, in this case in the UK, and the challenges that we face, some of the struggles that we face, having to deal with where we come from, our culture, and potentially the culture clash here as well, and the ways of doing things. And I've got two young men here, live in the field,
live in the flesh, man.
Who are going to talk about some of these topics. Once again, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, I go by the name of O-Beats.
Yeah, and
I am AK.
AK. AK is a new face to me, so it's going to be very interesting digging into these topics. Now, I'm going to start by explaining my background. So I grew up in the UK to about the age of 14, right? Okay. So I was one of the guys that got shipped.
Okay. You'd be naughty.
Okay.
I was a good boy, man. I was a good boy. I was one of the other guys.
Process.
We got shipped.
Guess what? He went through it too.
Yeah.
Oh, you did. You got shipped as well.
So my one was a bit different.
You got boxed and shipped.
Yeah, but for the different reasons.
What's it called? Return to sender. Do not send
He was
back.
being naughty.
My one was so different. So obviously being Ghanaian and living in the UK was so different for me. But let's go back to
when did you come to the UK? Let's start.
So the whole family, I'll say.
Yes, that was same with me. Really.
All together, we came here in 2005. However, my dad was the one to come first. Then he brought my mom, and then finally they looked at home and said, "Okay, let's bring the kids. It make us look better." So luckily, we were lucky enough to get dragged over, and we got here in 2005.
And I can imagine, because I hear so many of those types of stories and the challenges that brings. But go on, I'll let you finish.
So when we got here, obviously, I think the first thing for me was we got here literally, it was the 5th of Jan 2005. Wow. And it was the first time I heard of anything called snow. That was the most shocking awakening to what the UK was to me. Because
How old was you then? How old was you?
I was 6. So 6 years old. Obviously, if you know how Ghana is at that age, we don't have, at that time, especially 2005, Ghana didn't have actual supermarket stores. Okay. So if you were to go
are
buy
you sure
clothes,
about that?
Not from where we lived. I lived in Kumasi, so we didn't have
Kumasi, okay.
We didn't have the big mall where you can go to like an Accra.
I get it. Cool.
So you would have to go to like the Kumasi market area.
They gotta get at you.
He's keeping it real, man. Okay. Come on.
So you go there, and that's where you'd get, certain clothes. So that's where we bought our jackets from Ghana.
Right.
So in my head, I was like, "Oh, what's a jacket for?" Until we finally got here at Heathrow. Oh my god!
Which terminal? 5.
I think it was that. I wouldn't remember, but I know the moment we came out of that plane and
the cold just licked you.
I said, "Oh shit!" That was the first time I shivered. I said, "Oh, this is a real feeling." And then that's when I said, "Oh, so this is England." That was my first experience. It was just snow, seeing, understanding where you are, and then finally going from Heathrow, then going in the direction of South London.
Okay.
So from there. Staying in South London, we lived in an area called Pollard Hill, quite close to Mitcham. So very Ghanaian community base. Yeah. So that was quite helpful because one thing that you saw was there's the same people like you all around you.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
was that lucky.
That's true. Yeah. So for me, lived here most of my life. Had been going back and forth between the UK and Ghana at the time. Okay. I remember, and this is going to show my age. So I can't remember it specifically, but I remember there was a bit of a coup or something happened.
Oh, wow.
And so I believe...
We're in Ghana.
Hey, you don't know your history. There was a coup.
That old?
Yeah, I'm that old. And there was a coup. And so I remember, that was one of the things that got us and ended up getting shipped back basically to the UK. And then, was born, grew up to about the age of 14. And then, my mum decided and my dad decided that, we're going to get shipped back which was a whole different experience. Wow. An experience that I don't regret having. I think it really helped me and it made me understand where I come from and just have a more balanced view on, living here and life. And then obviously coming back. But even still, just understanding just different mentalities to education, to a different mentality. And this is me just looking at, my parents, although I know they, did the best and did a great job, but just them having just a different understanding of creativity, education,
what we consider success,
perfect.
Good to uni.
And what have you. So, and then obviously we're gonna delve a bit more into that topic. Anything that you want to add to that, Mr. Obeats?
Yeah, obviously. My name is Obeats. Born in Brussels, moved to the UK.
Anytime you drop that part of your life story, I'm actually fascinated by that. Because I'm like, rotted. Man grew up in Brussels,
Belgium, man. Yeah,
man speaks French and see. that's dope, man. That's dope. Man. That's dope. Yeah. So how? But then you also come from a different perspective as well, because is there a Ghanaian community in Brussels?
Yeah, for sure.
And they all speak French,
they speak French and Flemish.
Wow.
Which is Dutch, yeah.
And do you guys have special, do you just celebrate the normal Ghanaian activities? You come together like Ghanaians here?
Like Independence Day and
such. And all them.
I was too young. So I'm sure we have something like that, but...
What time did you leave? What age did you leave?
When I was 9.
No, that's still...
But I didn't go out at that time, so I wouldn't, you get me? I didn't have no siblings, so it was
fair enough.
My parents are not gonna go to these events, innit? The only events I will go is like funerals. You know, the Ghanaians, they like the funerals every Saturday.
Okay.
You get it?
So are you saying you didn't really get a feel of the Ghanaian community in Brussels?
I did in church, obviously. But
in church.
Yeah, that's about it in church.
Oh, okay. So
but I think for other people that lived there, that were born there, they left Brussels at a later age, so at the teens, so probably the experience will be a bit different. You get me? Because obviously at that age they could go out by themselves and that. But with me, I was just at home.
So what was your experience coming from Brussels at 9 to the UK?
Obviously, I couldn't speak English.
Not one piece of English.
Nah, I don't think so. Now I can't
Are you serious? That's actually quite scary.
To be honest, I learned English through daytime TV.
Oh wow!
I don't think, because again, when I was in Ghana, we spoke Tree.
Oh,
so it was such a,
which is good.
We spoke it so fluently that once I got here, because I wasn't able to go to school straight away, because obviously here, once you get here and you're new, you have to go through the process of finding a primary school to go to.
Right.
So most of the days I used to be at home, and all I had really was daytime TV. So
daytime TV, cool.
BBC One, BBC Two, ITV One, Channel 4 and Channel 5 were my best friends. Yeah, unfortunately.
Channel U as well?
No, Channel U.
I didn't have that. I didn't know about it.
I had the only basic stuff that you could get on TV before Freeview came.
But still, at 6 though, that's still pliable years to absorb some of that information, though.
To be honest, it was the best time because I learned English within, I think, a month or 2. But just because of the consistent work. Because think about it. But
it's possible.
Most
Charlie,
kids
at 6, Charlie, they absorb the information, or Charlie.
Like most kids are at school, let's say from 8 till 3.
It's possible.
I'm at home. All I have is cornflakes in front of me and the TV, because everybody else at the house
is at work.
They're at work.
Yeah.
Mum's at work, dad's at work, brother's already in school before me. I'm just the only one at home because again.
But before you came, you already knew how to speak it a bit, right?
No, because I was young. In Ghana, we did. I wasn't.
Right, you know they really well.
No, because obviously you said within 1 to 2 months, but it's it's a language. So
I'm quite shocked myself. But you don't know.
You can't say that. Okay, cool. I'm learning this language from A to Z by 2 months.
It's not about learning.
At 6, you're not trying to learn. You're just absorbing.
I'm just speaking it.
You're just absorbing.
Whatever they're saying, you're saying.
But who knows? Maybe when he was in Ghana, there was some background English going on.
Probably going around. Think about when I was in Ghana.
But if you're speaking tree at home,
nursery,
you're not really.
Think about. I was in nursery, and we weren't in the school that I went to. Wasn't no UK complex based school. It was a Ghana kind of school. Like we're learning social studies, you're learning the normal subjects that Ghanaians would learn. So by the time I got here and I'm not going to school, all I have on is cartoons.
Yeah, that's true.
And shows that go on, which is daytime shows. Listening to a lady called Lorraine, just speaking her
These
mind
are his teachers.
you're gonna listen to them. The Paul O'Grady show.
Yeah, that's dope.
As time went on, you just watch how they speak.
Exactly.
I might not understand exactly what they're saying.
It's true.
But you're taking on what they're saying. You're like, so
on.
that's how they say certain words.
Yeah, that's spot on.
So by the time I actually got to school where I finally got registered in and now they're teaching me what those words mean, I'm saying it, but now I'm starting to understand what I'm saying.
Okay. And your diction's very clean as well, so you obviously did a good job.
Honestly, I remember when I was in like year 10, year 11, and my friends were like, "Oh, so you were born here, right?" And I was like, "No."
Yeah.
They're like, "You wasn't born here."
They were shocked, right?
Yeah, they were shocked.
Every single time they're like, "Oh,
do you know
sure
what?
you wasn't
do you know
born
what?
Here?" No.
For someone, because even like I said, meeting you for the first time today, and you just saying, "I came here when I was 6," your diction is so. But it goes to show that, especially with young kids as well, you was able to absorb, but not only that, you absorbed your learning English from actually quite a good source, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that I found with some Ghanaian children in this country is they end up learning English from their parents.
What they call proper English, as they always
Yeah. So we end up learning English from our parents, and then we end up some broken English.
Nah, that's what happened with me.
Is that happened to you? Oh, Charlie. Yeah.
I think because I couldn't speak English, so my mum was able to speak English, so it's the way she spoke, and then obviously when I was in Belgium, I was watching Nollywood as well, so.
That's very.
See where his influence
you see, and that is very bad.
Yeah. But obviously I was young, so
no, you don't have
watching
you don't
Love
have
World, Pastor Chris,
you
get me? I was watching those type, you get me? So I was like,
I mean, I always say like if a child, because I've seen the negative effect that it can have sometimes when you're trying to learn English from bad sources. But anyway, that's not that's
a different topic.
That's a whole different topic. So for you coming to the UK at 9, now I actually think his situation was harder.
Oh, I think
because you're learning at 9, bro.
Yeah. Adapting.
How you learning English at 9?
Different. Yeah. Because now what you know as norm is Belgium.
That's
so
mad.
now trying to take the language where you look at it like it's an alien language. For me, like I said, like you see how you said about learning from parents. Yeah. There's a way how, let's say, my dad would say a certain word, and I will know it's wrong.
Yes. There you go.
I know it's wrong because I've heard it from the English people.
Yeah. That's
he
right.
thinks he's right because that's how he was taught, as they always say. But then. Now, I think in this generation, newer parents are starting to learn from the kids. So they're now willing to go to that kid and say, "Hey, am I saying that?" Whereas my parents
trying to learn the slangs.
I know what I am saying.
So sorry. So coming back to you, Obi. So you've come here at the age of 9. Yeah. What are you going straight to school?
Yeah.
So you're going straight to school?
August, not straight, but. August.
Okay, you came around August. Okay, so that gives you a month to go into school then, like September.
July, August,
So wait, you're going into school not knowing any English, bro?
No.
Oh, that's mad. So how'd you cope, bro?
Luckily, I had a teacher, an English teacher.
That's
that
rough.
Speaks French. Yeah, so
that's rough though.
Yeah, it was, man. But I'm here, innit?
Come on, tell us about the trauma, bro. That must have been hard. Come on, bro. You're going in at 9. You cannot speak a word of English. How are you?
It's not a word, but it's like I didn't understand certain things, kind of thing. Yeah,
that's rough though. So, because how you even communicate? So, okay, so you've come into class. I'm assuming teacher's gone. Hi guys, this is who's just come from the new boy who's just come from Belgium. Yeah. Did they tell the other students that you can't speak very good or you can't speak English?
I think so.
I think
you're blocking the trauma, bro. You're blocking the trauma.
I think so,
bro. Let the trauma out, bro.
He wouldn't understand the English then. He's just like, they're like, this is him.
He can't remember.
He goes,
yeah.
And he just nodded as they started because he wouldn't understand what they're saying.
Okay, so how long did it take? Because the reason I relate to that so much is because I know how challenging it was when I went to Ghana at 14. For the first year, bro. Painful. Like even me cry. Like now you see how they speak the pidgin English more. But even me for the first year till I hit the age of 15, Charlie, that was rough, bro.
In Ghana?
Yes.
What were you saying?
I was at the time I was in Adenta, Accra. Yeah.
Yeah, but that I don't think you would have been that bad. I think if you went to Kumasi, if you went to Kumasi,
when I got shipped,
but if you went to Kumasi,
I got shipped back.
Yeah, Kumasi might have been different.
When I got shipped, I thought I spoke fluent until I went to my first tree lesson in school. Oh my god! I think that was the one subject that I failed in. The whole time I was there.
Oh wow!
Because that's when they looked at me and said, "Yeah, you can speak it, but can you speak it?"
Okay, so are you now saying that? So after coming here, learning English, you forgot your tree?
No, like I could speak. So I could speak the basic tree.
Okay.
I can speak to anybody back and forth.
Okay, yeah.
But there's another aspect of tree. There's words that we don't use that's common now.
That's true.
Because now, like in Ghana, a lot of them will speak tree with English.
Yeah.
So there's certain words that we will say, let's say a crow.
Mm-hmm.
A Ghanaian will say, oh, me kwa na me hu se crow bi kom.
Yeah.
And I said,
the word is actually kwa debi.
Okay,
which is actually the word for crow.
How do you
You're an orator, bro. You're an orator, bro.
So, you know what I mean? So we would never be speaking and go, oh my God, because that would be like, oh, like, you're speaking.
Isn't that the fancy tree? Isn't that the fancy tree that you're saying?
That's what they say is the original tree.
Oh, is it?
So is it? I thought it was
so we're speaking more of a simplified, more English version tree. That's what
awesome. That's dope to know. Like,
so that's where. When
I
went to Ghana, when it came to tree classes, I was the worst.
Oh wow!
Because they're looking at me for a year like, you are not surviving. I said,
but Mantis, the thing about it is that all the Ghanaians as well, like the adults as well, certain words that I think they don't know how to say in tree.
Yeah, but that's a whole.
How do we say 100 in tree? How do we say 100?
That is a whole different discussion.
Do you know how to say 100 in tree?
That is a whole different discussion, and definitely a discussion that I'd like to have.
No,
because definitely. But anyway, let's stay on topic. So, okay, so I think we've kind of covered our kind of basis on
our early stages in life.
Early stages on life, and I mean, even that in itself is challenging, and so we have to deal with these mixtures of cultures, of languages.
Yeah. And
look at that. I mean, you may have like the average person that grows up here, they don't have the challenge of having to learn a different language. No. They so you've had that challenge. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've had that challenge. Not me really, but I think my challenge is speaking good English. my challenge was speaking good English. So now we can bring the parents into this equation, I think.
Yeah.
And so for me, from my parental background, for me, my parents were always big on education. Always, willing to invest in my education, willing to, just make sure I was going to whatever extra classes I had to go to, and what have you, and just make sure you study hard, because if I'm to be honest, I did find particularly when I was here, actually, to the age of 14, I did find it challenging, the education system here challenging. But I think for me, it was just because my parent, I don't think, like in my case, it was my mum at the time, I don't think she wasn't really highly educated. So she was just trying to navigate, how do I educate my children to a good level of education even despite the fact that I come from Ghana and I didn't have great education. And if there's anything that I've learned raising my own child right now, it's, raising your own child requires education in itself. Charlie, raising a child requires education in itself, to educate, which is a bit mad, because sometimes you just think, just go to school. Yeah, that's it.
What you have to do.
But no, guys,
it's not.
It requires, and you're learning this. I don't know your situation, but you're definitely learning this, that it requires education. And I think for many of us, there was always that pressure of, especially when you've got the pressure of someone that's not educated, but they believe, and rightly so in a sense, they believe that the way is education, because they see people making it out of their communities, their life as education. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
To be honest, it's always been, I think, in a lot of Ghanaian households, there's always been that idea that the only way that you're going to make something out of yourself is through education. And even the idea of what subjects that you pick.
Yeah, true.
Like, kids that are going through GCSE, A levels, that was important to parents.
Yeah,
because I think maybe something that we never really took a thought of it was that our parents used to work with other cultures here that took education very differently. So if you really consider, let's say, most Ghanaians that came in that I'm aware of, they went straight into working as nurses.
That's true.
Or working in the NHS. True. But there you would also meet another culture, ideally the Asian culture, who also took education very important.
Course,
and they were, because they were such great examples of how well they did it.
Yeah, that's true though. That's true.
It made it clear for the Africans, or let's say the Ghanaian culture, to say that's the way we should go.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you not see that he became a doctor?
Yeah.
Why are you not going to come a doctor?
Yeah,
and then by the time you realise, like, you have parents who maybe they don't know the process to get there, but they know all you have to do. They know it's through science. They know the basics. Now you have to do science. Your school said triple science. There's double science. You're going to do triple.
Why?
Maybe I don't like science.
Yeah. Why are you failing science?
And they would never understand. But if I say, hey, Dad, I like media, I like music, where's that going to get you?
What are you talking about?
Media and music.
Media.
Yeah. So what are you going to be? Journalist. Like,
even journalist crowds.
Why is that
good.
bad?
Everything.
And I
have
think,
you ever felt that pressure yourself?
Yeah, and I think that's why we're not really innovative, if you think about it, like in a sense.
But we'll get there. We'll get there, and I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
But I also want to know, like, did your parents put that pressure on you though?
Yeah, same thing. Whatever he says is the same thing.
Whatever he said.
Yeah, like,
so you had that same pressure.
Yeah,
but your parents seem kind of chill though.
Yeah, they are, but
they seem they seem quite supportive of.
Yeah, they are supportive, but
which is good.
Like, as long as I'm in education.
Okay, so it's like education first.
Yeah,
you whatever side hustles you're doing, your music, whatever. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So you were saying so the innovative thing.
Yeah, I think going back to his point, what do you say about like go to school and whatever? I feel like that's the reason why our continent, should I say, like, we're not very innovative, because we wanna when we leave that continent, we wanna go straight to work. We're not creative. Like, we wanna go straight to work.
Do you know what? That is a great point, right? And I'm trying to try and stay on topic.
Yeah.
I have thought about that a lot, right? My only answer that I have to that, because I have thought about that, I was like, yo, why is it like, Charlie, that house that needs to be built back home, So there is an element of fight or flight in us.
Yeah.
Right? It's not, for us, it's not, let me sit down and see how I can be the next Bill Gates and, reinvent the wheel.
No.
Right now,
if we don't build that house,
the
house that we've been
my brothers and sisters are back home.
Do you know what hurts so much about that?
We're gonna get on there. So I think there is this, because you're talking about why aren't we innovating? Why aren't we doing fresh stuff? Why do we just get the education?
It's our parents.
I think it is that fight or flight. The first thing we need to do is to make money. We need to solve our problems with money. Not a bad thing. So let's not knock that. So I think that's where it comes from. And I also think there is, and I'm going to use the word a poverty trauma.
Yeah.
There is a poverty trauma. Do you know what I'm saying? 100%. And I've had to accept that because at first it was hard. And even I realized that I was in some of that as well. It's like, hey, Charlie, I need to make sure I'm making that P, bro. Like,
I think my one's different.
And there was definitely that sense of, yo, we need to make that money. And I did realize that. And as I grew up, I did realize that other races didn't have that. They didn't have that. And I was like, hey, rah.
We're the only, we look like one of the only ones that if we don't do something, we feel like we'll never make it.
You'll never make it,
Because like one thing I realized, we were never taught finances from young.
Yeah, and that's another huge one.
We never understood finances.
That's another huge one.
All we thought was, if you don't work, the money doesn't come in.
Thank you. That's a really
of investments. Nobody has ever heard of actual saving, because we don't understand saving. We understand that if that money comes in, it has to be used for something, because there's always some sort of debt there. We've never ever thought of, hey, like when you hear, and sad to hear this, but when you hear somebody from England say, hey, I'm saving for a rainy day, ask yourself how many Ghanaians would know what a rainy day is.
They do.
I mean, I do think Ghanaians, I mean, in my experience, you know, I do know of Ghanaians that do save and do try and invest, but the point that you made that I thought resonated perfectly was the education on financial education.
And just to be clear, you're talking about the older one.
Okay, so maybe
not our generation now,
true,
where
which is true.
We have a lot more knowledge into.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm talking about the ones that came
first generation, innit?
Yeah, like they came here, and all they thought was, if they don't work to pay off this specific bill here, there's nothing else they can do.
And even send money back home.
Send money back home
for the house.
That house idea, I always used to think about it, and my mum was a great example where they were like, oh, we need to build a house in Ghana. And then finally, when they started getting closer to like the age of retirement, now everybody's having doubts of, should we actually live in Ghana? And I went, wow.
After all that,
you're now having second thoughts. I was like, so was that worth your investment? Because what was the need of building a house
for you to live in?
To live in, and
not even a hotel or a mansion.
Whereas now, us who's now lived here,
we have.
We're willing to make that decision early enough to say, well, look, I've lived in the UK. I don't think I want to leave the UK. So
decide.
I have a feeling that I'll probably live here.
So once again, coming back to the whole parental element of this discussion and Ghanaians, so I think this pressure comes from them wanting us to just make money like they never made money before. What do you think? Yeah,
it's more of a money gain. I don't think it's the role that you're in. Is that I've never met a Ghanaian parent that says, if you're not a doctor but you make over 100,000, I'm not going to be happy.
Okay.
It's always about, if you can hit that financial gain that we've never had before, we're happy. Right. It was but what they know or what they believe is the only way to get to that financial gain.
Lawyer, doctor, accountant.
But they don't know that there's another job that earns higher than that.
Or they're not aware of these nuanced roles and jobs that's now come out.
And I think, and I like the way you said nuance, because that is it. And you know what I find interesting, especially in today's age, all of those jobs, Charlie, them no be secure jobs right now. Charlie, the lawyer, the doctor, the accountant, no be secure job right now.
They are some of the easier jobs that you can get fired.
Charlie,
people just do not know. Like,
they are not secure anymore. They are not well paying anymore.
I think it's the day when we were sitting in the living room, and the news came up about the junior doctor's pay.
Oh, man.
And once I heard the hourly pay, the way I turned around, I looked at my mum and said, if I hear doctor again, If I hear doctor,
I want to hear it.
I couldn't believe it. I said, wait.
What was your mom's reaction?
She couldn't say a word. She said, okay, I understand. I said, good. I said,
it's quite heartbreaking.
People are not aware.
Yeah.
So most Ghanaians just think that's the way forward.
So, and the title as well. Like,
yeah, that's what I was about to ask. So was it? I mean, obviously, there was the financial aspect. Was it prestige as well?
Yeah.
Was it prestige?
To flex on on our own people.
Yeah.
But is that actually, again, we learn it from so many other cultures. But we learn that from so many other cultures. Again, the Asian culture.
That's true. That's true.
That was something they love to brand it. Like they would like to brand that. Have you met my son?
Yes. That's true.
My son is a doctor.
That is true.
And I think that's the great thing about Ghanaians here in the UK. We are sponges of other cultures. We are able to kind of gain little here by there.
Yeah.
And
in terms
express
of okay.
in ways that we can. So the idea of you being a doctor coming to a family function is big for us.
Yeah.
Like they'll look at you and go, "Oh, okay, hey, doctor now."
When you go to the village,
I'm doctor about, hey, bugger. You know, like the idea of saying bugger.
Yeah.
How's your bugger? When you saw your doctor,
yeah,
or your lawyer.
We need to, but once again, we need to be careful about this because once again, it is parents that are putting pressure on their children to take on these roles, and this is where education, once again. The parent themselves need to be educated now to understand that these are not right now. If you're going to play that game, you need to be saying computer scientist, programmer, or what else?
Cybersecurity,
software developer. You know what I'm saying?
Like they need to know.
They need to re-up their vocab right now.
They don't know about. I don't think they know about it.
Yeah,
and the ones that are learning about it, they're. Sometimes it's too late.
It's too late. Like, it's too late. Yeah.
Like telling a kid now who you've told him to become a lawyer, where he's gonna go a law degree and go, my son. Have you seen the money in cybersecurity? He's looking at you like, But I like that now our generations are learning from these
mistakes, and that's the important thing. You know, I've certainly learned. I've certainly taken a different approach to my child and just how I, you know, raise that person. In doing that, learning from their mistakes, learning about building the person up holistically, not just about education.
Yeah,
right. I mean, I remember when we were growing up, like even like you said, like sports. We did sports out here.
Music.
I think one time I must have told her I wanted to be a DJ and I got scolded for it. Like,
is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, and one thing I learned through some of these experiences and that I've come to accept is, and I say this because Ghanaians were so like on this religious thing, right?
It's true.
Yo, I did not make my child all. God made that child all. So whatever God put in that child's heart, that's for me to support that child.
Yeah.
It's not for me to say, right, my child is born, I'm telling you you're going to be a doctor. Yeah. No. I need to find out what you like. God has put in that child and develop that thing.
Skill,
that skill and make it whatever God wants it to be.
Yeah.
And once again, I think that's the mistake that some parents make.
Yeah.
They want to dictate.
And then also another thing as
God's
well.
role in developing that child.
Another thing as well is like, I'm getting old, so when I go back to Africa, you can look after me, kind of thing. Which, that expectation.
So maybe that's where
the pressure as well.
And maybe that's where that pressure, and then maybe that's where the pressure comes on for you becoming some of these things.
Yeah, but I'm thinking to myself, I would never tell my child when I'm older, you should look after me. I need to be secure already.
I need
to be secure already.
Yeah,
you get what I'm trying to say?
But let me empathize with them a little bit.
You get what I'm trying to say?
But let me show
pensions and
I get it. But once again, I'm not defending their actions.
Because of education, some of them are not educated enough for you to know about pensions. And you get what I'm trying to say?
But this is where I have to empathize with them. And I'm not saying that what they do is right or that pressure is right. But if someone doesn't come from if they're not well educated, maybe they might put that pressure on you. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying it's right, but that's the probably reason why they're doing it. So this is why we need to kind of break that cycle and get more educated. And maybe in some cases we need more education on pensions and all that sort of stuff, because in Ghana, 20, 30 years ago, I don't know about now, probably even now too. Charlie, what is pension? What is pension to the average?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm
or
saying?
even having those early conversations of, hey, when I get older, like, what's the plan? Am I living here? Is there a care home?
We don't like those.
We've never had. I think maybe we just don't have those conversations.
That's a very.
And
good point.
we leave it till too late.
Yeah.
Very
but one thing I realized is that they later want to decide to go to Africa to spend the last couple years they have there.
It's understandable.
And I think they see that as their pension.
No.
Some do, some.
Okay, so and this is my understanding.
After finishing off their house.
Yeah, so, and then I think there's a bit of this, and once again, I'm just speculating here, a bit of that, when I get my pension here in the UK and I take it to Ghana, it'll be worth more.
It is.
It'll be worth more. So that's the strategy. Which could also...
That makes sense, though. I would do the same thing.
Which could also explain the whole, let me build a house back home too.
So obviously with the currency exchange, I think is like times 9 to about times 10.
Yeah.
So let's say a pound here is times 9 over there.
Yeah.
So in their head, what they believe is if I'm able to build my house there for let's say a quarter of the price here, whatever's left is my money to spend on. So if I'm able to take that money and then go back to a place like Ghana, I can survive on that money.
That's true.
Compared to somebody else who probably lives in Ghana, and then they will have to save up. That's where they normally. That's where the idea comes from. So if I'm here and I have 20,000 saved in pension money, over there, I'm almost a millionaire.
Yeah,
exactly.
Having a million is much better than having.
So the first, so in summary, so do we understand these parental pressures from these parents?
I do, but it's like.
So this is what
at the same time I don't.
Okay.
I understand the pressures that they have, but I also hope that there is growth for that to change.
Okay, so I think, look, we're a new generation, and I think there is growth, and I think we do understand. I think we're getting a better understanding. But the first thing I wanted to just make sure is that we kind of understand, because trust me, I've had to like do the whole like why all this, and obviously. When I went to Ghana, I got a better understanding. I was like, hey, so that's why, you get a better understanding. So,
but I think that's not enough, in terms of like growth here. We have to go back to the source. So we need to like maybe we need to have like an education that teaches people back home about these type of things, because
no, that's not going to happen.
No, because I know, but I'm just saying that then we're going to always. Every year there's going to be another freshie that's going to come here and think there's going to be they'll think the same way. Am I lying?
No, but Obis, I get your point, but honestly, to take it that far back, it's not going to work, because it's a totally different culture. What we can do is have discussions like this that kind of start from this kind of, if people decide to watch this and maybe get educated from our perspectives, great. But that education's not happening here. But
we can still try, though. I'm just saying.
No, I wouldn't waste your time.
For the people that want to come here. For the people that want to come.
But then that's why it's good to have like a podcast, because those now, because of now generation, a lot of people care about information.
Yes.
So the more information that they're able to learn and hear about, that might also help them gain more knowledge on how things are different, and that might help them in their perspective of where their generation changes and grows. Yeah,
and there's also been this theory, right? There's also been this theory, because once again, because I like to be balanced with my discussions, right? Yeah, because there's also this discussion that I've heard as well, like, so obviously, we have the kids that come here or that are born here, and then we have the parents that put this pressure on them, the parents from back home that now come to live here, that put this pressure on their children to be successful. Let's just say by hook or by crook, you know what I'm saying? Using these specific roles that these archetypes that they expect these children to pick up. But there's also this talk of where a family, because I've heard this, right? success in the family normally happens with one person. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe that's their way of throwing their gambling seeds. And one of you will become an accountant.
Yeah.
One of you will become a doctor. One of you will become... I don't care that you like arts or sports. You will become... You know what I'm saying? You become a sports doctor. You become a... You know...
Find a way around
I think there's that disconnect. I mean, oh my gosh, like I have another friend as well, and you know, if he watches this, he knows what I'm talking about. That guy is an amazing guy. He's into sports, right? He's into inspiration in sports and stuff like that, and he's been amazing. And sometimes I've heard his harrowing story of like how his parent kind of treated him through all of that. Do you know what I'm saying? But then that could also bring up the topic of even mental health. It could also bring up the topic of mental health, and maybe sometimes we're not, you know, sometimes we're hearing this, but maybe the undertone is also mental health in some cases. You know, these pressures are really...
But I can't lie, I think one sport that probably your dad might support is footballer.
Do you know what?
You get me?
No. But the average...
They will support it.
Charlie. The average Ghanaian is not... that. I mean, maybe now.
They will.
But football, yes, be a footballer, but your master in English, please.
Yeah.
100%.
You know, get a degree. Fallback. You need a fallback. You need a fallback.
Plan B, yeah.
You need a plan B.
Yeah, for
By
sure.
all means, do your football, but you need a plan B.
If there's no plan B, there's nothing.
If there's no plan B, there's nothing. So I think there is this disconnect. Now, you know, as we spoke today and I got to meet you, and we found out that our birthdays were kind of around. So the first thing I asked you was, boy, are you creative? Are you creative? And you said, yeah. So I think we're going to move on to the creative aspects of these challenges growing up in these households. So for me, it was always been like music and a bit of art as well. And yeah, I hit so many brick walls with that, you know. And once again, you know, I understand, so I'm not going to say I don't understand. But moving on from that understanding is that frustration for us as well. And that was always frustrating because I felt I wasn't supported. Do you know what I'm saying? I think every child should feel supported, you know, in whatever they choose to do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what's your experience been like?
Quite similar. So my brother was the more creative person in our family.
Okay.
He was into art, so really good at drawing, really good at painting.
Wow.
All that sort. However, nothing that my dad considered was even. He was like, "What's that? That's not a career."
Did it create conflicts?
It
was it just?
No, it was
because for some it creates conflict.
In our house, it was just his word was the last word. So the moment he made it very clear that there's no career in that, so he's not supporting it.
Okay,
it was kind of up to.
So did your brother just stop doing his creative thing?
Well, it was either you do creative and nobody supports you, or you find something that works out and then they support you.
Right.
It was it was kind of like a trap. It was kind of like a semi-trap on him.
I understand
and
that.
And when I saw that, that kind of kept my so-called creative talents away. So like drawing here and there, but I was more into the idea of branding, logo,
amazing.
And such. But it was like, who's going to support you doing that? So even like GCSE times, I remember picking. There was the option of picking science or picking media. I picked media. My dad looked at me and said, "Wow, what are you choosing media for?" I said, "It's because," and my only excuse was, "If you want me to get a good grade out of this, this is one of them.
This is the route. This is the route. This is the route. Yeah."
And that was the only way I got around it. Same as music. When I picked music, it was why are you picking music?
Quite bold. But that's quite a bold thing for you to have done.
I was rebellious in such ways.
Sometimes you have to be, unfortunately.
I was rebellious, but I also knew that I had a bit of a back support with him because I was the last born.
He's a favorite.
That was my only way of kind of getting away around the rebellious aspect. So picking media, like the whole family, like them looking at me and I going, "I picked media." They went,
"Right." Okay. They must have looked at you like you're brave.
Yeah, but I also found ways to make it work. I said, "Hey, I picked history." I picked history. I picked I tried to pick subjects around it that I picked French.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't the best at French, but it was the idea of telling them, look, there is a plan B.
Yeah.
Even though there wasn't a plan B.
Okay.
So, grades came, everything finished. Instead of me going maybe that route of go be a scientist, I said, let me go and do business. That was okay, now I'm...
Well, that's good.
It was good to him at one point. Again, a lot of explanation of why you want to do these things. For you to get that support.
Yeah.
You to explain to them,
You had to. So being creative was, you had to explain yourself. Why?
Yeah,
why do you have to explain yourself to be creative?
But I still, despite everything, I still rate your parents though. Like, one, they've given you you've been given the freedom to choose what you want to choose.
Oh yeah.
And two, you've been given the opportunity to explain why you're choosing what you've chosen.
But then my other response was, then we ends up with very bad results, and I can't repeat this. So
okay, which is fair enough.
My thing,
and there was an understanding there.
Yeah, because that was my rebellious aspect. I made that very clear.
Yeah.
Let's say you let me pick science, I'll come back with
I'll go bomb.
I'll come back with a U. I'll make that very clear to you that I can't do science, so let's not pick it.
Yeah.
Let's not do something that my always thing was don't ask for something that you're going to be disappointed in.
Yeah. That's a
good point.
That's a reality.
It is how life is. I can't always make everything perfect.
That's right.
But if you consistently try to put something against me.
Yes, yeah. You can't.
And then when the results don't come out the way you want.
Yeah, you can't shove a square into a circle or square. You can't. You gotta. Yeah. How is it for you? Kind of choosing your subject? Do you just choose whatever?
What did I pick? Yeah,
bro, man, you've been uni, everything, man. You're just here, sitting here, like you didn't even uni.
Okay, so for GCSE,
was it easy? Did you feel you had to please your parents in what you chose?
At the same time, yeah.
Did you?
I picked history.
Okay.
I picked French, obviously.
Yeah.
And what else?
Did you
engineering?
Engineering?
But I flopped.
He's a joker.
At least he didn't
He's that man.
I know that one. I flopped it. But
serious, but it's still a bold thing.
Yeah.
Wow. And when you chose these subjects, your parents were all very supportive of what you chose.
No, they were supportive. I was thinking of music, but then I can't lie. My dad was not really supportive in the music thing. I can't lie. My mum was supportive, but not my dad still. And obviously, I noticed about this, your mom's proper supportive of you. That's good though. Yeah,
that's dope. That's dope. Yeah,
he was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
So that's what.
Yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I'm mentioning this is just trying to understand how important it is to get that parental support in choosing what you want to do. My GCSEs, I mean, once again, I think mine was a bit of a mix. I can't remember feeling pressured to do anything that I didn't want to do. I think I did art, and once again, this was in Ghana. I think I did art, but then I did do business, But I must admit, I was interested in these subjects, so I never felt pressured. And to some extent, I was supported creatively. I do remember actually being in Ghana, wanting to do music, doing music. I mean, when I say doing music, that meant like making music in my bedroom on a little tape deck.
Is that when you started doing music?
Yeah,
in Ghana?
Yeah. So, but it was more like something that I did and no one bothered me with. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? Until I started, raising my profile and like going to like rap shows and stuff like that. And to be fair, I can't actually say, because I actually remember times when my dad actually, would pick me up from the show, drop me off at the show. Oh. So and he knew
you had the support.
Yeah, do you know what? Now I'm thinking about it, because sometimes I might be a bit harsh, but sometimes I'm like, well, actually, my dad did support that. You know what I mean? Like drop me off at shows
when I got here,
but I think it's always about having the balance. But go on, go on.
Maybe like football.
Yeah,
my parents never saw that as career. So watching all your friends go, oh, we kick ball on Saturday, and you're like, I stay home on Saturdays, guys. Because they never saw that, maybe that lifestyle that we never saw, Saturday football, get the kids, get the boots together.
And that's a really good point, because I think it's changed, but once again, I actually do remember my dad supporting me with five-a-side football. I remember. Do you know what? Yeah, I used to play. I used to play. I was busting up laughing. I used to play five-a-side football. I remember for Cub Scouts actually. So he used to play five-a-side football. My dad would actually come down and watch me play five-a-side football.
What
I actually
position
remember.
were you playing?
Oh, it's five-a-side football, bro. I can't remember. I can't remember. But it's funny. But it's quite interesting that when I had my child and she wanted to get into sports, right? Or no, she was supported into getting sports. I was a little bit reluctant. I was a little bit. I'm gonna be honest and very transparent about it, because a little bit I did have a bit of that. No, you need to be focused on your books. You need to be successful. But it was actually my partner that was very much like, no, let her do sports, man. Let her. And I was like, you're right, let her just,
let her do her
thing, you know what I mean?
What sport was she doing?
What's that?
What sport?
She was doing tennis. She was doing tennis. She was doing swimming. But it was just interesting when I look at myself. Do you know what I'm saying? Like introspectively, obviously I wasn't forceful about it. I was open-minded, but introspectively, it just goes to show that even I had a little bit of that in me. Like, yo. No, you need to, you know what I'm saying? But then I was like, nah. And to be honest, it was the best thing that I did, letting her do that, because I realized that it developed so many other traits in her.
Yeah.
And that is what sometimes we lose as African parents or Ghanaian parents. We don't understand that when I let my child go and do football, he's also learning to stick to something, to be determined, to, learn all those things. When I'm teaching them to go and allowing them to go and do art or be creative, they're now learning confidence. They're learning how to maybe be in front of a camera. They're learning how to all these other skills that make them more of a holistic person, a unique person. This is what we forgot. We missed that out.
But
that was what I learned.
Because again, it's how we were always taught, generation to generation. Like for me, I always feel like whenever I have a kid, my thing would be experience everything.
Yes, that's how we are now.
Just because we don't know, we don't know what we missed out on. Unfortunately,
100%.
Like there's so much things where, like like swimming. I was lucky enough that the school that I was in, they had a swimming pool.
Right, awesome.
So from primary school, you learn how to swim.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents know how to swim.
Because
I've never seen them swim. But that's a skill that you realize you never know where you will go.
That you'll need it.
That you
never know. You might fall off a boat or something like that.
You never know.
You've got to learn how to.
There's kids I know that go hiking.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Rock climbing, like things that we've never ever done.
I started to look at all, because you know what? There was a time where, I don't know, like we used to think, like, yo, those are Caucasian things. Like, who does that? Like, who does that?
And now we don't want to do it.
But then I started to look at, I started to look at the outcomes of these things and what these guys might be learning. Do you know one thing I found really fascinating was skateboarding? Right? I used to look at skateboarding and think, these guys are nuts, right? They will do one trick, right? Or try and jump up on something 200 times to do this specific trick.
And will probably hurt themselves.
And will hurt themselves until eventually they will nail that trick.
Yeah.
Do you know can you imagine how much that sense of stick to something, that sense of this is accomplishable, I need to stick to this. That's what that's developing when you think about it.
But we will never see as that.
That's what it's developing.
It doesn't contribute to nothing. So why are you doing it? That's the mentality.
And I started to look at these things totally differently. Like,
I was so lucky when I came to I came to England. We had a youth centre.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Around us, and that youth centre gave me so much opportunities
which is sad that a lot of young people don't have now.
They missed out. Like youth centres where I learned public speaking. And that's where
So it was a youth centre that you learnt that?
Yeah,
still?
like it was never at home. It was youth centre. One of our
that is crazy.
The youth manager that run it, Carol, we'll never forget her lovely lady.
Oh man,
she saw that they had like an open kind of place of teaching people public speaking, and she looked at me and said, "Hey, I'm gonna put you in.
Good, yeah.
Put me in it. One of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It taught me so much, and because of that, I was able to go to like job interviews and just speak it through. Look at me and go, have you ever done this job before? And I was go, nah, first time, but fun chatting to you guys. And they go, okay, we like it. But it was such an experience going to Fort Park because you've never been. So learning about height. So now when I'm like up in a building, I look down, I'm like, oh, that's it. That's because from young, I was given opportunity to go and do these things that we would consider Caucasian. Like, oh my God. If they say, let's go swimming, and I'm like, yeah, come on, guys. The rest of my friends look at me and go, hey. Yeah. Look at him. He's taking shots. He's going with them. And they were, oh my God, in friends. And I'm like, do you know we can swim, guys? Yeah. And they'll look at me and go, oh, his experience is very different to ours.
And that's and once again, it's that being able to get out of that box that has sometimes affected indirectly been created for us. Being able to break that box, break that mold, and that's definitely something that I have learned over the years, man. Being able to break out of that box. Yeah. What about yourself? Have you had experiences where you have had to truly break out of that? Let's just call it the Ghanaian way of life box.
What do you mean, like just?
Like probably something that you now do different from what you've learned. Now that is very different to how the Ghanaian way of life it used to be.
Are you still eating your jollof with no salad and eating your?
I have to eat with salad. I could eat it without it, but yeah.
Because before we didn't really eat our salads. I think now we're getting more into our salads and stuff like that.
Vegetables.
Yes, you know what I mean. That's good. Yeah.
I'm just more open-minded.
Yeah. I think that's so important. Yeah.
You know the maybe it's a Ghanaian thing. Mentality of now understanding fake news. Like auntie, you know the aunties that used to have
that is new for me. That is new for me. Yeah, because I come from a different generation where probably they don't even use that. But I must. But you guys, they must be bringing it to you. Have you seen?
Do you know it was that bad? That I had to block my mum. I had to block my mum.
Hey, your mum used to do.
I had to block her.
She come to you bare fake news.
Yes,
so much. And sometimes
challenge.
I used to sit down. I used to question them. I used to go so. You know, we're in the UK, why do you keep telling me about the news on Ghana? And they used to look at me and be like, don't you care? And then I'm like, well, what?
Yeah, that's another thing.
And then the rice thing from China.
Yeah, that was a big one for them. The rice is fake. Look,
and I think as well, what this also highlights is our reactive nature as well.
Bad news spreads quicker, isn't it?
We need to, and I've learned this myself as well. Just trying not to react to immediately off everything. Just chill, man. Just okay. Let's just digest this. Like, what is it?
Do you know how hard it is to do when you're a football fan?
I'm sure it is. But I don't know. So, is there any other topics that we would, especially on the Ghanaian parents and that impact that it's had on us here? I mean, for me, I know sometimes but once again, my parents haven't been to. Sometimes I might have to go to a Ghanaian traditional something, but they've been pretty easy with me on that. Generally, I think they've allowed me to be. I think for me, it's always just been about supporting. Us just being open-minded as Ghanaians to the possibilities that are out there in the world. They're not limited. And just saying to any future parents or allow your children to be themselves. Let's talk about, so from our experiences, what would we tell future Ghanaian parents or even our future selves about parenting us in the future?
Embrace what they do and keep learning. Don't stop.
Yeah, support them.
I think support is the key thing, man.
Support.
I think support.
Support, because some Ghanaian parents will tell you but they do support, and that's why I say you have to embrace, because what Ghanaian parents tend to do is they will just support what they think is right for you. It doesn't mean they support everything that you want to do. That's why I say you have to embrace in them, because if you don't embrace in what they want to do,
they won't support you.
And here's the other thing as well, that I came to learn as well. You know, sometimes if your child wants to do music, right, allow them to do music, because them go do the music. If it comes from them, then they will just stop. It's as simple as that. But when straight away you're like, no, I'm not supporting, then
now they want to do it.
Now they might want to do it even more and more.
They want to do,
you know what I'm saying? Your child wants to do football, support them.
If he gets to a stage and he realizes he's not Ronaldo, he will stop.
He will stop. And that's the other thing, because even with my missus, I noticed like her dad supported her, not only her, but the whole family, doing music, doing sports, doing everything was supported. She didn't become a musician. Nothing to do with music. But there was support there. And so that was the other thing that I learned. Even if you support a child to do something, doesn't mean they're going to become that thing. If I support my child to do, I don't know, whatever it is, it doesn't mean they're going to become that thing.
But it's an experience.
It's an experience. It's a learning experience, and they may learn valuable skills.
That will benefit them in future.
That may benefit them in future. So let's do a roundup. You know, we've done an hour, and I think it's been an amazing discussion. You know, it's been really great having you on board and just giving your input. So in summary, a message to our future selves. So my message to my future self is, be open-minded, be willing to embrace new things. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't box your mind in because of what somebody else has said. Do you know what I'm saying? If their experience was that, who knows what your experience is going to be? It could be a totally fresh experience. You could learn something totally new. You know, go out there, embrace the world. I mean, I remember, before my traveling used to be America, Ghana, Canada. Now there's India there. You can go, you can travel to India. You can travel to somewhere in Europe. Do you know what I'm saying? Croatia. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid and say to yourself, hey, are there any black people in Croatia? Who cares? You don't know. Go there. You might experience something new. The people might be friendly there. They might, you know what I mean? You don't know. Go out there. Be out there and just don't be afraid to experience new things. I'm going to go to you. AK.
Embrace and support. You do not know what your lifestyle will be in the future. You do not know what you could be stopping or opening up for your kids' future. Just embrace them and support and see where it goes. Because every experience that they have in their life is still an experience for something better in the future.
Awesome.
Same with me. Like, I just think that support your kids no matter what they want to do. You never know where it will take them in the future. As he said, it will build a new skill for them, which will be beneficial to them in the future when they're working or they're in certain roles. Also, I would just say, like, educate yourself as well. Avoid listening to fake news. Get information from different sources. That's the main thing as well. And stop, yes, say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is very true.
That's the only. That thing pisses me off.
That's our
with my mum.
Yes, it is our Google. Yes, we should set up we should set one up called Yes, it. Yes, search engine.
Especially things with like immigration stuff, document stuff. Like it's just
let's just learn.
Go to the website. You can find information. But the problem is that some of them can't really read or whatever. So you get me. So
let's educate ourselves.
Yeah, just education.
And I also want to hit on the arts as well, because I think the arts had such a, over the years, especially in Ghanaian communities, the arts has had such a rough time. And I think we really need to get a better understanding of the arts in terms of the financial aspects, because the art is not just about singing a song or drawing a picture. It's about finding value in in this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's about figuring out how can we brand this stuff. You know, you're talking about branding. Branding is huge right now. Branding is huge. So really what we should be discussing is how can we build businesses off of this? Yeah. As Ghanaians in itself, we're creative people. We are creative people. But we've never, it's been really challenging for us to know how to leverage that and make money. Right now, Idris Egba is in Ghana right now trying to figure out how to set up studios and stuff like that in Ghana. This is about us leveraging what we have and making money from it. That is the future. Understanding intellectual property, understanding what that means for us to make money from it. It's about how to make money. It's not about the craft itself. It's about how do we make money from the craft itself. But it's been a fabulous discussion, lovely discussion with these guys, and we're no doubt going to have more discussions like this. If you've made it to the end, I just want to say thank you to making it to the end. We're going to get better. Please bear with us. I hope the recording came out well. I think it did. We're sound engineers here and creatives here, so it should come out good. Yeah. But if you made it to the end, thank you so much. And by all means, if you've got any topics you want us to discuss, leave it in the comments. Leave some suggestions. I don't know. You sound like you want to say something. Yeah, leave it in suggestions. And
I'm just watching myself.
And we'll see you again. Thanks for joining us. Later.